Soup sounds harmless, warm, comforting, and perfect for seniors. But hidden inside that bowl can be dangerous sodium levels, preservatives that raise blood pressure, and even contamination from dirty kitchens. Today, we reveal the 10 soups you should avoid at all costs, and finish with the 2 soups that are actually safe for your health. Coming in at number 10, canned chicken noodle soup. You grab a can off the shelf, pop the top, and think, classic comfort food. But here's the truth, that innocent-looking chicken noodle soup in a can might as well come with a warning label. A single serving often hides over 900 milligrams of sodium, and that's per half can. Eat the whole thing, and you're pushing well past the daily sodium limit for most seniors in one sitting. Why does that matter? Sodium overload leads straight to high blood pressure, kidney stress, and a much higher risk of stroke. And for older adults whose bodies can't regulate fluid balance the way they used to, this is a recipe for swollen ankles, pounding headaches, and ER visits. And that's just the salt problem. Many budget brands still use BPA-lined cans. BPA is a chemical that can leach into your soup, and studies link it to hormone disruption and higher risks of heart disease. You thought you were slurping broth, but you're sipping chemicals. And here's the scary part. The FDA still allows BPA-lined cans on shelves, despite decades of studies linking it to hormone disruption and heart disease. They call the levels safe, but for seniors already at risk, that margin of safety can vanish fast. The chicken? Let's be real. Most canned chicken noodle soup uses tiny, rubbery bits of chicken that taste like they were shaved off the driest bird in history. The noodles? Mushy enough to qualify as baby food. And the vegetables? Carrots and celery so overcooked they're more orange and green coloring agents than actual vegetables. And here's the kicker. The broth is so salty that you can't even taste the chicken. One spoonful, and it's like gargling seawater with faint poultry vibes. Ever cracked open canned chicken noodle soup and wondered why you felt thirstier after eating it? Did the broth taste like salt water or just plain chemicals? If your comfort food leaves you bloated and gasping for water, that's not soup, it's sabotage. At number 9, watch out for cream of mushroom soup. It sounds cozy, creamy, earthy, the base for casseroles your mom probably made. But what's actually inside that can of cream of mushroom soup is more horror movie than home cooking. One glance at the label shows cream, modified starch, MSG, preservatives, and salt. Lots of salt. In fact, some brands hit over 1,000 milligrams of sodium in half a can. That's like licking a salt block and calling it dinner. Manufacturers can legally list a serving as half a can, even though everyone eats the whole thing. That loophole makes the sodium number look smaller, and the FDA lets them get away with it. What's shocking is that the same soup recipes sold in Europe have less salt and fewer additives, because their regulators force it. In the US, they sell us the cheaper, riskier version. And the cream? It's not grandma's homemade cream. It's industrial heavy cream blended with thickeners that coat your tongue in grease. Instead of mushrooms, you get a handful of dark flecks swimming in beige sludge. Try heating it up. You'll notice an oily sheen rising to the top like pond scum. That's what you're about to eat. MSG gets tossed into fake flavor, but it can trigger headaches, dizziness, and bloating. For seniors managing high blood pressure, cholesterol, or diabetes, this isn't comfort food, it's sabotage in a can. And don't even get me started on using this as a casserole base. Every creamy dish made with this soup ends up doubling the calories, fat, and salt. It's a shortcut to clogged arteries, served in a glass Pyrex dish. Here's a thought. If you can't tell whether the mushroom pieces came from a farm or a lab, maybe it doesn't belong in your body. Have you ever dumped out a can of cream of mushroom and thought, why does this smell like cardboard? Did you eat it anyway? If sadness had a shape, it would look exactly like that gray gelatinous blob sliding out of a can. Coming in at number 8 is lobster bisque from restaurant chains. Lobster bisque sounds fancy, right? You picture white tablecloths, rich flavor, maybe even a romantic night out. But order it from a chain restaurant and you're about to drop $12 on a bowl of cholesterol disguised as soup. Here's the ugly truth. Most chain restaurants don't use real lobster in their bisque. Instead, you're getting a base made from imitation seafood stock, cream, and a terrifying amount of butter. The lobster chunks, usually frozen, rehydrated, and chewy enough to question whether it ever swam in the ocean. A single cup can pack over 500 calories and 30 grams of fat, and that's just the cup. Upgrade to a bowl and you're basically spooning down the same saturated fat you'd find in a double cheeseburger. The texture is thick and oily, coating your mouth in grease so heavy it lingers long after you leave the restaurant. And seniors? That fat doesn't just disappear, it raises LDL cholesterol, builds plaque in arteries, and increases heart attack risk. Even worse, some chain bisques are bulk made in factories, frozen, shipped, then reheated in-store. That means your luxury seafood soup is essentially TV dinner quality. And here's the part that really stings: the sodium. With over 1,200 milligrams in a single serving, it's a direct hit to your cardiovascular system. That creamy spoonful comes with a side of elevated blood pressure. Ever order lobster bisque and realize it tastes like cream with a lobster suggestion? Did you even find a chunk of real lobster in there? When your fancy seafood has the same nutrition as a cheeseburger, it belongs in a drive-thru, not on white linen. Want to stay ahead of food dangers and hidden risks? Hit subscribe now so you don't miss the facts that could protect your health. At number 7, we have instant ramen noodle soups. For decades, college students and budget-conscious families have relied on those little packets. But behind the convenience lies a host of health risks that make instant ramen one of the worst soups you could possibly eat, especially for seniors. The first red flag is sodium. A single packet of instant ramen, including the seasoning packet, can contain anywhere from 1,600 to 1,900 milligrams of sodium. To put that into perspective, the American Heart Association recommends no more than 1,500 milligrams per day for older adults or people with high blood pressure. One serving of ramen can max out or even exceed that entire daily limit. And let's be honest, most people eat the whole packet in one sitting, meaning the sodium spike hits all at once. High sodium intake leads to increased blood pressure, water retention, and added strain on the heart and kidneys. For seniors who are already more vulnerable to these conditions, that bowl of noodles isn't just a quick snack, it's a health hazard. Then there are the additives. The flavor packets are notorious for being loaded with MSG, monosodium glutamate, artificial flavorings, and preservatives. While MSG is technically recognized as safe, many people report headaches, nausea, or sensitivity after consuming it in large amounts. And because ramen is cheap, the manufacturers tend to cut corners, relying heavily on chemical flavor enhancers instead of natural ingredients. The noodles themselves aren't innocent either. They're often fried in low-quality palm oil before being packaged. That means you're consuming trans fats and saturated fats that contribute to high cholesterol and inflammation. The starch in the noodles also breaks down quickly into glucose, spiking blood sugar. For seniors with diabetes or insulin resistance, that's an additional burden. There's also the issue of nutrition, or the lack of it. Instant ramen offers almost no vitamins, no minerals, and very little protein or fiber. You're essentially eating empty calories that fill your stomach, but don't fuel your body. Some studies have even shown that frequent consumption of instant noodles is associated with higher rates of metabolic syndrome, a condition that raises the risk of heart disease and diabetes. When you add it all up, instant ramen is cheap, yes, but it comes at a very high cost to your health. Seniors who already face risks with sodium, cholesterol, or blood pressure should avoid it entirely. Number 6 is broccoli cheddar soup from fast food chains. On the surface, broccoli cheddar soup sounds like a healthier option. Broccoli is a vegetable, after all, and cheese provides calcium and protein. But when you buy broccoli cheddar soup from fast food chains like Panera or similar spots, what you're really getting is a calorie bomb disguised as a comfort food. Let's break it down. A typical cup, not even a full bowl, of broccoli cheddar soup from Panera contains 360 calories, 21 grams of fat, and about 1,300 milligrams of sodium. A bread bowl version can skyrocket that number to over 800 calories and nearly 40 grams of fat. That's more saturated fat than many cheeseburgers, and in some cases, nearly the entire daily limit for seniors in a single sitting. The problem lies in the ingredients. Instead of being a light vegetable-based soup, broccoli cheddar is essentially made from heavy cream, butter, processed cheese, and thickening agents. The broccoli is often a minor player, tossed in to give the illusion of nutrition. So while you may think you're eating something hearty and healthy, you're mostly eating melted cheese sauce with a few florets floating around. For seniors, the risks are obvious. The high saturated fat content raises cholesterol levels, which increases the risk of heart disease. The sodium levels push blood pressure higher, contributing to strokes and kidney damage. And the calorie count makes weight management difficult, especially when combined with a sedentary lifestyle. It's also worth mentioning that fast food chains prioritize flavor and shelf stability over nutrition. That means added preservatives, flavor enhancers, and thickeners like cornstarch or modified food starch. These don't add any value for your body. They just make the soup look creamier and taste saltier. Some chains even use powdered cheese mixes or pre-made soup bases, which means you're not getting fresh dairy or freshly cooked ingredients. For seniors who already need to be cautious about digestive health, these processed elements can cause bloating, discomfort, and long-term digestive strain. So while broccoli cheddar soup has the image of being warm and satisfying, it's really a disgusting disguised indulgence that does more harm than good. If you love it, the better option is to make a lighter, homemade version with fresh broccoli, low-fat milk, and minimal salt. But the fast food chain version? That's one to avoid at all costs. Have you ever ordered broccoli cheddar soup thinking you were choosing the healthy option, only to realize it's just melted cheese sauce with broccoli sprinkles? When your vegetable soup has more fat than a cheeseburger, that broccoli is just window dressing. Sliding in at number 5, avoid clam chowder in bread bowls. Few soups feel as iconic as clam chowder served in a bread bowl. It's a coastal classic, creamy, hearty, and filling. But if you care about your health, especially as you age, clam chowder in bread bowls is one of the worst offenders you could order at a restaurant. First, let's look at the base soup itself. Traditional clam chowder is made with heavy cream, butter, bacon fat, and potatoes. The clams are often canned, not fresh, which means they're packed with sodium and preservatives before they even make it into the soup. Some restaurants cut costs further by using clam flavoring or clam broth concentrate instead of real clams. One serving of clam chowder without the bread bowl can contain over 500 to 600 calories, with 20 to 30 grams of fat and more than 1,200 milligrams of sodium. Add the bread bowl, basically a hollowed-out loaf of white bread, and you're easily looking at 1,000 calories or more in a single meal. That's half a day's worth of calories for most seniors, crammed into one dish. The high-fat content clogs arteries, while the sodium content raises blood pressure and strains the kidneys. The starch-heavy bread bowl turns it into a blood sugar nightmare, especially for seniors managing diabetes. On top of that, many clam chowders are thickened with flour or cornstarch, making it even more carbohydrate dense. Then there's the issue of food safety. Seafood-based soups like clam chowder are more prone to bacterial contamination if not handled properly. If clams are not stored or cooked correctly, they can carry harmful bacteria like Vibrio or parasites that cause foodborne illness. Seniors with weaker immune systems are especially at risk. Finally, while chowder feels hearty, it's low in real nutrition. Aside from some protein in the clams and carbs in the bread, you're not getting much fiber, vitamins, or minerals. Instead, it's a heavy meal that leaves you sluggish and overfed without providing lasting benefits to your body. The bread bowl presentation makes it seem fun and unique, but it's just a clever way to sneak in even more empty calories. For seniors trying to manage weight, cholesterol, or blood pressure, this is one soup you should absolutely skip. Ever finish a clam chowder bread bowl and feel like you ate a brick? Did you regret it before or after the food coma? When a single bowl hits 1,000 calories, that's not lunch. It's a sinker disguised as soup. Number 4 goes to tomato soup from concentrate. Tomato soup has long been marketed as a light, comforting, and even healthy choice. Many people associate it with home remedies, like pairing it with crackers or a grilled cheese sandwich when they feel under the weather. But not all tomato soup is created equal. And when you're looking at the boxed or canned versions made from concentrate, you're stepping into dangerous territory. Let's start with the issue of added sugar. Most concentrated tomato soups contain far more sugar than people realize. A single serving can contain anywhere from 12 to 20 grams of sugar, which is the equivalent of 3 to 5 teaspoons. For seniors managing diabetes or pre-diabetes, this is a serious problem. The sudden spike in blood sugar puts stress on the pancreas, forces the body to release excess insulin, and creates long-term risks for heart disease. Then there's the sodium. Many canned tomato soups pack in 700 to 1,000 milligrams of sodium per cup. And remember, most cans contain 2 servings, though people usually eat the entire can. That means you could easily consume more than 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams of sodium in one sitting, blowing past the recommended daily limit. Not only raises blood pressure but also causes fluid retention, which can strain the heart and kidneys. Artificial additives are another problem. To extend shelf life and maintain texture, manufacturers add stabilizers, thickeners, and artificial flavors. These compounds don't offer nutritional benefits. Instead, they just make the soup smoother and more uniform. Seniors with sensitive digestive systems may find these ingredients cause bloating, gas, or discomfort. And what about the tomatoes themselves? The truth is, soups made from concentrate often lose much of the natural lycopene found in fresh tomatoes. Lycopene is a powerful antioxidant linked to lower risks of heart disease and certain cancers. But once tomatoes are heavily processed, stored in cans, and diluted with stabilizers, much of that benefit is gone. Another issue is the packaging. Many canned tomato soups are still stored in BPA-lined cans. Finally, tomato soup from concentrate is often marketed as a light meal, but nutritionally it's far from balanced. It's high in sugar and sodium, but low in fiber, protein, and healthy fats. This means it digests quickly, leaving you hungry again without providing lasting energy or nourishment. So while tomato soup may seem like a classic comfort food, the concentrated, boxed, or canned versions are anything but safe. Seniors looking for a healthier option should stick to homemade tomato soup made from fresh or roasted tomatoes, seasoned lightly, and blended without additives. That way, you get the benefits of antioxidants and flavor without the hidden dangers of processed versions. Ever sip canned tomato soup and wonder why it tastes more like sugar water than tomatoes? What's your take? Too sweet or too salty? When your soup raises blood sugar and blood pressure at the same time, that's not comfort, it's a double strike. Coming in at number 3 is pho from low-quality takeout shops. Pho, the traditional Vietnamese noodle soup, is beloved around the world. When made authentically with slow-simmered bone broth, fresh herbs, lean meats, and rice noodles, it can actually be a nourishing and balanced meal. But here's the catch. Not all pho is created equal. In fact, when you order pho from low-cost, low-quality takeout shops, you may be putting your health at risk. The first red flag comes from the broth. Authentic pho broth takes hours to prepare, using beef or chicken bones, spices like star anise and cinnamon, and fresh vegetables. But cheaper restaurants often cut corners by using MSG-laden bouillon cubes or soup bases instead. MSG, or monosodium glutamate, is a flavor enhancer that delivers an artificial umami taste. While some people can tolerate it in small amounts, high levels of MSG can trigger headaches, nausea, dizziness, or palpitations in sensitive individuals. For seniors who may already deal with migraines or heart conditions, this is a serious risk. The quality of the meat is another concern. Authentic pho uses fresh, lean cuts of beef, chicken, or seafood. Low-quality shops, on the other hand, may use cheap, fatty, or even improperly stored cuts of meat. Improper storage or handling raises the risk of bacterial contamination, including E. coli, salmonella, or listeria. Seniors with weaker immune systems are far more likely to suffer severe consequences from these foodborne illnesses. Then there's the sodium issue. Even without MSG, low-cost pho broths are often extremely salty, with some servings containing over 1,000 milligrams of sodium before you even add sauces like hoisin or sriracha. Once you add those condiments, which most people do, you're easily doubling the sodium intake in a single meal. Again, this is particularly dangerous for seniors managing hypertension or kidney disease. Carbohydrates are another factor. The rice noodles in pho are simple carbs that break down quickly into glucose. On their own, they're not terrible, but in a sodium-heavy, MSG-packed broth with questionable meats, they offer little in the way of balance. Seniors with blood sugar concerns could see spikes after eating a bowl. The final hidden danger is sanitation. Smaller, low-cost takeout shops may not always follow strict food safety standards. Poor refrigeration, cross-contamination, and questionable cleanliness in kitchens can all make their way into your bowl of pho. A broth simmered for hours can mask a lot of these issues, but the risk remains. So while pho has the potential to be a healthy dish, it depends entirely on where it's made. Low-quality takeout shops that prioritize cost over quality should be avoided, especially for seniors trying to protect their health. A safer bet is making pho at home, or choosing a trusted, authentic restaurant with strong reviews and high standards. At number 2, we find French onion soup with cheese crust. French onion soup sounds elegant. It's a staple at many steakhouses and French-themed restaurants. With caramelized onions, savory broth, and that golden crust of melted cheese and bread, it feels like the perfect indulgence. But behind its rich taste lies one of the most dangerous soups for seniors. Let's begin with sodium. A typical restaurant serving of French onion soup can contain more than 1,500 milligrams of sodium per bowl, sometimes even more. That's the equivalent of an entire day's worth of sodium for older adults in a single dish. This extreme sodium load causes the body to retain water, raises blood pressure, and puts direct strain on the heart and kidneys. For seniors who may already be on medication for hypertension, this is a recipe for disaster. The cheese crust only makes matters worse. While it looks appetizing, that thick layer of melted cheese adds heavy amounts of saturated fat and cholesterol. A single serving can have 10 to 15 grams of saturated fat, which is close to or above the daily limit recommended by most health organizations. Over time, this contributes to clogged arteries, higher LDL cholesterol levels, and greater risks of heart attack or stroke. The bread soaking in the broth is another problem. It's typically made from refined white bread, bread, which adds empty carbohydrates and quickly spikes blood sugar. For seniors managing diabetes, this combination of sodium, fat, and refined carbs is particularly harmful. The broth itself isn't innocent either. Many restaurants use bouillon cubes or pre-made soup bases instead of slow-simmered stock. That means you're also getting MSG, preservatives, and extra sodium hidden within the dish. Combined with the cheese and bread, it becomes a heavy, unbalanced meal with little nutritional value. French onion soup is also deceptively small. Many restaurants serve it as an appetizer, but the calorie count can reach 600 to 700 calories per bowl once you factor in the cheese and bread. That's before you even get to the main course, which means seniors could easily overconsume without realizing it. So while French onion soup might seem like a comforting or classy choice, it's actually one of the most sodium-packed, cholesterol-heavy soups on the menu. For seniors, it poses multiple risks, from heart strain to blood pressure spikes to artery damage. It may taste rich and satisfying, but it's not worth the long-term consequences. Finally, at number 1, avoid creamy potato soup from chain restaurants. Potato soup is the definition of comfort food. Thick, creamy, and often loaded with cheese and bacon, it feels like the kind of bowl that warms you from the inside out. But here's the catch. The creamy potato soup you find at chain restaurants is one of the worst offenders when it comes to unhealthy soups. And it's sitting right at the top of our list for a reason. Let's start with the calorie problem. A single bowl of creamy potato soup at many chains, think Applebee's, Chili's, or even steakhouse add-ons, can contain 500 to 700 calories per serving. That's before toppings like extra cheese, bacon crumbles, or sour cream, which can easily push it past 800 calories. Considering soup is usually seen as a starter or lighter option, this is misleading. Seniors trying to manage weight or limit calorie intake could blow through nearly half a day's worth of calories in a single appetizer. The saturated fat levels are even worse. Because chain versions rely heavily on cream, butter, cheese, and bacon, a bowl can pack 15 to 20 grams of saturated fat. That's the entire recommended daily limit for an adult. Consuming this regularly contributes to clogged arteries, higher LDL cholesterol, and an increased risk of heart disease. For seniors whose cardiovascular systems are already more vulnerable, this can't be brushed aside. Then there's sodium. A single serving of creamy potato soup at popular chains often contains 1,200 to 1,800 milligrams of sodium. Combine that with the main entree, a side, and perhaps a bread roll, and you're looking at a full day's sodium intake, sometimes in just one meal. This is dangerous for seniors with hypertension, kidney disease, or heart failure. High sodium not only raises blood pressure, but also leads to swelling in the ankles and legs due to fluid retention. The potatoes themselves don't save the dish. While potatoes can be a source of vitamins like C and B6 and minerals like potassium, by the time they're drowned in cream, butter, and cheese, their nutritional benefits are overshadowed by the overload of fat and salt. Many chains also use processed, dehydrated potato flakes as a base instead of fresh potatoes, further lowering the nutritional quality. Another issue lies in the toppings. Bacon is almost always added, bringing nitrates and preservatives that are linked to higher cancer risks. The melted cheese adds even more sodium and saturated fat. Sour cream piles on additional calories and fat without much nutritional payoff. Finally, portion size is deceiving. Potato soup tends to be thick and filling, but restaurants often serve it in large bowls. Seniors may feel obligated to finish the portion, unknowingly consuming far more calories and sodium than intended. So while creamy potato soup may feel like comfort in a bowl, it's one of the least comforting choices for your health. It's the perfect storm. Too many calories, too much sodium, and way too much saturated fat. For seniors trying to protect their heart, blood pressure, and long-term health, this soup is best left off the menu. Now, let's flip the script. After all these don'ts, here's a soup that's actually worth your time and health. Homemade lentil soup. Lentils are one of the most nutrient-dense foods you can put in a bowl. Packed with plant-based protein, fiber, and minerals like iron and magnesium, lentils make for a soup that's hearty without being heavy. A single serving of homemade lentil soup can contain 15 to 18 grams of protein and 12 to 15 grams of fiber, making it perfect for seniors who need balanced nutrition without excess fat or sodium. The high fiber content is a major benefit. Fiber slows down digestion, stabilizes blood sugar, and keeps you full for longer. For seniors managing diabetes, this is especially important. A bowl of lentil soup won't cause the same blood sugar spikes that cream-based soups or white bread-heavy dishes do. Another major plus is heart health. Lentils contain soluble fiber, which helps lower LDL cholesterol levels. Combined with being naturally low in fat, lentil soup supports cardiovascular health. It's also naturally low in sodium, unless you over-season it, which makes it a far safer option than canned or chain soups. The customization options make lentil soup even better. You can load it with vegetables like carrots, celery, spinach, or tomatoes to boost vitamins and antioxidants. You can also season it with herbs and spices like garlic, cumin, or turmeric, which not only enhance flavor but also add anti-inflammatory properties. For seniors, lentil soup is also easy on the stomach compared to heavier, cream-based alternatives. It provides steady energy and nutrients without the sluggish feeling that comes after eating fatty soups. And the best part? You're in control. By making it at home, you decide how much salt to add. You avoid preservatives, additives, and all the hidden junk that comes with canned or restaurant soups. It's a meal that's both comforting and genuinely good for you. Our second safe option is miso soup, the Japanese staple that proves not all salty foods are created equal. At its core, miso soup is made from fermented soybeans, salt and grains like rice or barley, blended into a paste and dissolved into a light broth called dashi. Toss in tofu, seaweed, or scallions, and you've got a bowl that's naturally low in calories, usually under 70 per cup, but packed with nutrients. The fermentation process is what makes miso special. It produces probiotics that help balance the gut, improve digestion, and even support immune function. Seniors struggling with gut health or frequent illness can benefit from this natural boost. Miso also delivers isoflavones, plant compounds that may lower the risk of heart disease and help protect bone density, which is critical for aging adults. And then there's the salt question. Yes, miso is salty. In fact, a tablespoon can deliver a hefty chunk of your daily sodium intake. But here's the twist. Research shows miso doesn't raise blood pressure the way other salty foods do. The reason? The fermentation process creates bioactive compounds that seem to blunt sodium's harmful effects. In Japan, miso is one of the biggest sources of salt in the diet, yet studies suggest it may actually support cardiovascular health rather than harm it. Different types of miso carry different strengths. White miso is milder and less salty, while red miso is fermented longer, with a fuller flavor and higher sodium. But either way, when you make miso soup at home, you control how much paste you use. A lighter broth still delivers the flavor and benefits without overloading on sodium, unlike canned or chain soups where the salt is fixed and excessive. Add it all up, and miso soup is one of the rare salty foods that can actually work in your favor. It's probiotic-rich, easy to digest, supportive of bone and heart health, and far gentler on the body than the heavy cream-based soups most seniors are used to. So while most soups on this list spell trouble, miso proves that sometimes salt isn't the enemy. It's the delivery system that matters. Don't risk your health on bad choices. Subscribe now, and I'll show you what to avoid and what's actually safe every single week. And if you thought soup was risky, wait until you see what's lurking in the grocery aisle. From fruit pouches laced with lead to deli meats carrying deadly bacteria, we exposed 9 grocery items to avoid at all costs, and 2 that are actually worth it. Tap here to watch it next. It might save your next shopping trip.